Listen carefully. Time is slipping through your fingers. Right now, as you sit in this moment, the hourglass is pouring out grains of sand that you will never touch again. Life is not waiting for you to figure it out. Every distraction, every unnecessary commitment, every voice pulling at you is costing you destiny. And the question is, will you continue to exchange eternity for triviality, or will you rise and learn the sacred art of prioritizing your life? You see, time is not just minutes and hours. Time is spiritual currency. It is God's investment in your life. Every morning you wake up, heaven deposits into your account 24 golden hours. And yet, many squander it, trading diamonds for dust, purpose for pressure, eternity for emptiness. Busyness has become the idol of this age. People wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. But listen, activity is not accomplishment. Motion is not progress. You can be running fast in the wrong direction. And at the end of the road, all you'll have is regret. The secret is not in doing more, but in doing what matters most. Prioritization is the discipline of the strong. It takes courage to say no. It takes inner strength to detach yourself from the noise, the endless demands, the emotional manipulations of people who make their urgency your emergency. To be truly focused, you must detach, not from love, but from distraction. Not from compassion, but from compulsion. Detachment is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is knowing that your value is not tied to how much you do for others, but how faithfully you steward what has been entrusted to you. When you learn to detach from people's expectations, you gain the freedom to attach yourself to divine direction. Clarity is your compass. When you know your why, every decision becomes simpler. You stop scattering your energy across 100 things that don't matter, and you start channeling it into the few things that transform your life. Focus is spiritual power. When you are scattered, you are weak. But when you are focused, you become unstoppable. Do not be deceived by urgency. Most things that scream for your attention do not deserve your attention. The email, the call, the endless scroll, they masquerade as important, but they steal your hours silently. Learn to silence the urgent so you can honor the important. Silence is not wasted time. Stillness is not idleness. Silence is strategy. Stillness is strength. When you pause, when you detach from the chaos, you align yourself with wisdom. And from that place of clarity, you multiply your impact in less time. Protect your time with the same vigilance you would protect your most treasured possession. Because time is life, and life is purpose. Boundaries are not selfish. They are sacred. They are the walls that guard your destiny from erosion. So I ask you, what are you attached to that is draining your hours? What are you clinging to that is robbing your focus? Who are you saying yes to when your soul is crying for a no? Because in the end, focus is not just about time management. Focus is worship. Focus is obedience. Focus is the posture of a soul that refuses to be distracted from its assignment. When you prioritize rightly, you don't just manage time, you redeem it. Time is spiritual currency. To understand this is to step into a deeper realm of awareness about life itself. Time is not just the ticking of the clock or the turning of days. It is a sacred deposit placed in your hands by the Creator. Every second you live is not merely passing. It is being spent. Just like money, time can be invested, wasted, multiplied, or squandered. But unlike money, once it leaves you, it can never return. You can recover wealth, rebuild opportunities, even regain health to some degree, but you cannot call back a single moment once it has been released. That is why time is divine currency. It carries within it the weight of eternity. When you begin to see time as currency, you stop treating it carelessly. You stop saying, I am just killing time, because time is not something to be killed. It is something to be honored. Every morning when you wake up and your eyes open, heaven has transferred into your account 24 golden hours. These hours are not ordinary. They are tools, they are seeds, they are weapons. They carry the potential to change your future, to shape your destiny, and to transform the lives of others. But if you do not recognize this truth, you will spend them on the trivial, and by evening you will hold nothing but emptiness. Think about it. A person can live 80 years, and yet when their life is examined, we see decades of wasted hours, scrolling endlessly, talking without meaning, doing what doesn't align with their destiny, engaging in commitments that bear no eternal fruit. When you buy into distractions, you are paying with time. When you dwell in toxic environments, you are spending your divine currency on what diminishes you. When you allow fear, procrastination, or indecision to hold you hostage, you are draining your account of what can never be replenished. And when you understand this, you begin to guard your hours as though your life depends on it, because it does. Time is not just life passing, it is purpose unfolding, and every moment is either an investment in destiny or a payment toward regret. Busyness is not productivity. This truth may sound simple, but it carries layers of wisdom that can shift the way you live. In today's world, busyness has become a badge of honor. People equate constant activity with significance, as though a packed schedule is proof of importance. But activity without alignment is emptiness in motion. To be busy is not the same as to be effective. You can fill your day with endless tasks and still accomplish nothing that truly moves you forward. There is a danger in confusing motion with meaning. Many people chase after tasks because they fear stillness, afraid of what silence might reveal about the emptiness within. So they fill their calendars, overcommit, say yes to everything, and run from one obligation to the next, yet collapse at night with a soul still restless and unfulfilled. Busyness consumes energy, but rarely brings fruit. Productivity, on the other hand, is intentional. It takes the raw material of time and channels it toward purpose, ensuring that every action is linked to something higher than the immediate. The truth is, busyness often comes from a place of insecurity. People do more than necessary because they want to feel needed, validated, or important. They take on responsibilities that are not theirs because they cannot bear the thought of disappointing others. But the result is a scattered life, drained energy, and a heart that feels perpetually behind. Productivity requires courage. It demands that you cut away what is unnecessary, that you filter every task through the lens of destiny, that you dare to focus only on what carries weight for your future. Being busy keeps you distracted. Being productive keeps you aligned. Productivity means asking, does this action bring me closer to the vision I hold for my life? Does this task contribute to my purpose, or is it just filling time? When you begin to live by these questions, you will find that much of what kept you busy was nothing but noise. And as the noise fades, clarity rises. Busyness drains, productivity multiplies. One leaves you exhausted and empty. The other leaves you fulfilled and fruitful. One steals your hours, the other redeems them. The wise do not seek to fill their time. They seek to fulfill their time. It is not about doing more, but about doing what matters most. And until you understand this difference, you will always confuse exhaustion for achievement and motion for progress. Prioritization requires detachment. The reason many people fail to manage their time is not because they do not know what needs to be done, but because they cannot detach themselves from the weight of expectations, obligations, and emotional ties that keep them entangled. To prioritize effectively is to choose, and to choose is to let go. And letting go is not always easy because it demands that you disappoint someone, decline an invitation, or walk away from something familiar. Yet this very act of detachment is where true strength is found. Think about how often people stay trapped in commitments that do not serve their destiny, simply because they cannot bear the thought of offending others. They volunteer for tasks they should not carry. They entertain relationships that drain them. They accept invitations that derail their focus, and all the while, their true priorities remain neglected. This is the silent thief of destiny. To prioritize, you must detach from the illusion that you owe everyone everything. You owe your life to the purpose for which you were created. Every yes to what is unimportant is a silent no to what is essential. Detachment also requires the courage to silence the inner voices of guilt and fear. Many people feel guilty when they refuse, as though their worth is tied to how much they can give, do, or fix for others. But wisdom knows that giving in the wrong direction is still loss. Detachment is also a sign of confidence. It means you are no longer swayed by the need to prove yourself through endless activity. It means you have come to trust that your value lies not in how much you carry, but in how faithfully you focus on what truly matters. When you detach, you are not rejecting people, you are rejecting misalignment. You are not walking away from love, you are walking toward purpose. Prioritization is impossible without detachment, because every choice is a declaration of value. What you let go of reveals as much about you as what you hold on to. Detachment is the discipline of saying, I refuse to spend my limited hours on what does not serve my highest calling. Focus is power. To grasp this truth is to understand why so many live beneath their potential. A scattered mind produces scattered results. Energy spread thin across countless tasks yields little progress. But energy concentrated on one clear direction creates breakthroughs. Focus is the magnifying glass that takes the ordinary rays of the sun and channels them into fire. Without focus, even the brightest light disperses into nothingness. With focus, even small efforts produce extraordinary outcomes. The human mind was not created to hold everything at once. When you attempt to multitask endlessly, when you divide your attention across dozens of priorities, you weaken your ability to excel in any of them. People often wear multitasking like an achievement, but in truth, it is dilution. You become present everywhere but effective nowhere. True mastery is born in focus. The musician who dedicates years to one instrument, the athlete who trains relentlessly in a single discipline, the writer who commits to daily practice, all discover that focus transforms talent into greatness. The secret many overlook is that focus is not only mental, but spiritual. To focus is to align your will with your purpose. It is to declare with your actions that you value the assignment given to you more than the noise surrounding you. Scattered energy drains not just productivity, but also spirit. You feel fragmented, restless, and unfulfilled when you are torn in many directions. But when you focus, something within you feels whole. You sense the alignment of your inner self with your outer work. That wholeness produces peace. There is also power in sustained focus over time. A single drop of water may seem insignificant, but when it falls on the same spot consistently, it carves stone. Focus works the same way. When you return to a vision day after day, despite obstacles, despite slow progress, you eventually break through barriers that seemed immovable. The problem is not always lack of strength. Often it is lack of focus. Too many abandon the path halfway, distracted by something new, chasing endless possibilities while completing none. To focus is to choose. It is to say, this matters, and I will give myself fully to it until it bears fruit. It is to silence the temptation of every shiny distraction that promises quick results but delivers emptiness. Focus turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. It takes the raw material of time and energy and forges it into destiny. Without focus, life remains scattered dust. With focus, life becomes a sharp sword, cutting through obstacles and shaping legacy. Clarity births discipline. Until you know what you are truly aiming for, your energy will always be divided and your willpower will always waver. Many people struggle with discipline not because they are weak, but because they lack clarity. They wake up each day without a clear vision, without a definite why, and so their actions are easily swayed by mood, convenience, or circumstance. But when your purpose is clear, discipline becomes less about forcing yourself and more about following the natural pull of your vision. Clarity is the anchor of the soul. It gives weight to your choices and direction to your actions. A person who knows why they must rise early will not battle the alarm clock in the same way as one who has no reason to get out of bed. A person who understands the value of their health will not treat exercise as an inconvenience, but as an investment. Discipline grows naturally when the picture of what you want is vivid, when the vision of where you are going is strong enough to outshine the distractions along the way. Clarity also eliminates the unnecessary. When you are uncertain about what matters, you will try to do everything, and in doing so, you will scatter yourself. But when you are clear, you realize that much of what occupies your time is noise. Clarity cuts away the excess, and in that cutting away, discipline takes root. It is easier to say no to distractions when you have a compelling yes burning in your heart. Clarity creates that yes. Many people seek discipline as though it can be built in isolation, but true discipline flows from understanding. When you know who you are, where you are going, and why it matters, Discipline becomes less of a burden and more of a natural response. It becomes less about resisting temptation and more about choosing alignment. Without clarity, discipline feels like prison. With clarity, discipline feels like freedom because it leads you toward what you deeply desire. Clarity gives birth to consistency. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum makes discipline effortless. The person who is clear about their mission does not wake up each day debating whether to act. Their path is already chosen, and their energy flows accordingly. Clarity removes hesitation. It quiets the noise of indecision. It transforms scattered effort into focused strength, and in that focused strength, discipline is no longer forced, it is lived. Emotional detachment is strength. Most people believe strength is found in how much they can carry, how much they can endure, and how deeply they can entangle themselves in every demand placed upon them. But true strength often lies in the ability to step back, to release, to refuse to be controlled by the tides of emotions that others attempt to impose. Emotional detachment does not mean coldness, nor does it mean indifference. It means the wisdom to separate your decisions from the weight of emotional manipulation, guilt, or fear. It is the ability to stand firm in purpose without being pulled apart by every tug of sentiment. Many lives are trapped because people cannot detach emotionally. They say yes when they should say no, not out of conviction, but out of fear of disappointing others. They remain in environments that poison their peace, bound by an unhealthy sense of obligation. They exhaust themselves trying to meet everyone's expectations, hoping to avoid rejection, criticism, or disapproval. But in doing so, they sacrifice the hours, energy, and focus that should be invested in their true calling. Detachment is not abandonment, it is alignment. It is the courage to choose purpose over pressure, direction over distraction. The world often equates empathy with entanglement. We are told that to care is to carry, that to love is to lose yourself in another's needs. Yet, love without boundaries becomes destruction. When you detach emotionally, you are not withholding compassion. You are protecting capacity. You are ensuring that your heart remains free enough to love purely, without resentment, without exhaustion. True love flows out of strength, not depletion. Detachment creates the space for this strength to flourish. Consider how easily emotions cloud judgment. A single wave of guilt can push you into commitments that drain you. A single moment of fear can paralyze your progress. A single desperate desire to please can redirect years of your life into paths never meant for you. Emotional detachment is the anchor that holds you steady in the midst of such waves. It allows you to make decisions based on vision, not pressure, on destiny, not desperation. It is the inner assurance that says, I can care for you without losing me. I can support you without surrendering my purpose. This strength is not always applauded. People may accuse you of being distant, selfish, or uncaring. But those who misunderstand detachment are often those who benefit from your lack of it. When you begin to detach, you reclaim authority over your time and your energy. You begin to protect your hours like treasure and your focus like fire. And in that place of freedom, you discover that detachment is not the absence of love. It is the protection of it. Emotional detachment is the quiet confidence that you do not need to be everywhere, do everything, or meet every demand to be valuable. It is the discipline of stepping back so that your steps forward are intentional. It is strength because it resists control, it preserves clarity, and it aligns your life with purpose rather than pressure. Silence and stillness are time amplifiers. In a world that glorifies constant motion, endless noise, and the rush to be everywhere, the true secret of productivity often lies in the very opposite, learning to pause. Most people confuse busyness with progress, believing that the faster they move, the more they achieve. Yet, without silence and stillness, all that movement becomes directionless, like a river spilling into the sand instead of flowing into the ocean. Stillness is not the absence of activity. It is the presence of alignment. Silence is not emptiness. It is the doorway to clarity. When you choose silence, you create room for your inner voice to rise above the clamor of external demands. Without it, you live reacting to noise, jumping at every distraction. answering every call, responding to every urgency. But in silence, you remember who you are. You hear the whisper of wisdom that is drowned out by constant activity. You gain perspective that helps you distinguish between what is urgent and what is important. In those moments of stillness, you recalibrate, and 1 hour of focused clarity becomes more productive than 10 hours of frantic motion. Think of how a bow works. The archer does not fire the arrow in chaos. They pause, they steady, they aim in silence. The stillness before the release determines the accuracy of the shot. The same is true for life. The pause, the quiet reflection, the space you create for yourself is what determines the precision of your actions. Without that pause, you end up shooting arrows in every direction, exhausting yourself, yet hitting nothing of significance. Stillness is not wasted time. It multiplies time. When you take time to reflect, to think, to plan, you save yourself from the detours and wasted energy of acting without direction. Silence allows your mind to process, to order thoughts, and to generate solutions that busyness would never permit. The breakthrough ideas, the sudden insights, the answers you have been searching for often emerge not when you are rushing, but when you are quiet enough to listen. Yet silence and stillness are resisted because they require courage. To be still means facing yourself. It means hearing the thoughts you've been avoiding, confronting the emptiness you've been covering with noise, and admitting the distractions you've been entertaining. But the person who embraces stillness grows stronger because they no longer fear the truth of their own soul. They begin to act from a place of intention rather than compulsion. The paradox of life is that the more still you become, the more powerfully you move. Stillness gathers your scattered energy, silence centers your wandering thoughts, and together they amplify your effectiveness. You begin to achieve more with less, not because you are doing more, but because you are finally aligned. Silence sharpens your focus, and stillness deepens your strength. They are not luxuries, but necessities for anyone who desires to steward time with wisdom and to transform effort into lasting impact. Urgency is often an illusion. Much of what presses on us with demands, alarms, and deadlines is not truly significant. It only feels that way in the moment. Urgency manipulates emotions. It convinces you that if you do not respond immediately, something will break, someone will be disappointed, or an opportunity will be lost forever. Yet when you pause long enough to evaluate, you often realize that urgency is nothing more than noise dressed in importance. It is a thief of peace, a master of distraction, and one of the greatest enemies of focus. The trap of urgency lies in its power to make you reactive. When you live according to the urgent, you are always at the mercy of external demands. A message arrives and you feel compelled to answer. A request is made and you feel pressured to comply. A problem arises and you feel forced to drop everything to resolve it. In the process, your priorities, those tasks that truly build your future, are pushed aside. The illusion of urgency steals the time that should have been invested in what truly matters. Urgency thrives in the absence of boundaries. When you do not clearly define what matters most, every interruption can masquerade as critical. Without discernment, you cannot distinguish between what deserves immediate attention and what can wait. This is why so many live in a constant state of stress, rushing from one crisis to another, never realizing that much of what they are running to put out are fires that were never theirs to extinguish in the first place. Consider how often we have sacrificed deep work, meaningful rest, or moments of stillness because something urgent arose. The email that must be answered now, the call that cannot wait, the trivial matter that screams louder than the quiet but vital task of growth. Yet, when you look back, how many of those so-called emergencies truly changed the course of your life? Very few. Urgency often loses its power in hindsight, revealing itself for what it was, a distraction clothed in panic. The wise do not bow to urgency. They filter it. They ask, does this align with my purpose? Does this demand truly matter in the bigger picture of my life? Will it matter tomorrow, a week from now, or a year from now? When you practice this kind of discernment, you strip urgency of its power. You learn that not everything deserves your immediate response, and you begin to reclaim authority over your time. The illusion of urgency is that it makes you feel productive while keeping you unproductive. You may spend the entire day reacting, running, and answering, yet at the end of it, your true priorities remain untouched. This is how urgency robs you. It makes you busy without progress, active without achievement. True strength lies in resisting the pull of urgency and choosing instead to anchor yourself in importance. The urgent will always scream. The important often whisper, and unless you learn to discern the difference, your life will be spent chasing shadows while your purpose goes unfulfilled. Boundaries protect purpose. Without boundaries, life becomes a free-for-all where anyone and anything can demand your time, drain your energy, and divert your focus. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are gates that ensure only what aligns with your purpose is allowed in. Many people confuse boundaries with selfishness. They believe that saying no means rejecting others or withholding love. But in truth, boundaries are acts of stewardship. Just as a farmer places fences around a field to protect the crop from being trampled, so must you place boundaries around your time and focus to protect your purpose from being wasted. To allow everything and everyone unrestricted access is to invite chaos into your life. Boundaries create order. They declare that your life is not open for intrusion, that your calling is too valuable to be constantly interrupted, and that your energy is too sacred to be spent carelessly. Boundaries are also a reflection of self-respect. When you respect your time, others will learn to respect it too. When you honor your priorities, others are forced to acknowledge them. But when you live without boundaries, you silently teach people that your life is available for their control. You end up saying yes when you mean no, overcommitting to things that drain you, and living in resentment toward obligations you should never have accepted. Boundaries liberate you from this cycle. They free you from guilt because you recognize that protecting your purpose is not selfishness. It is obedience to your higher calling. Think of boundaries as shields for focus. Every interruption, every unnecessary commitment, every draining relationship is like a leak in a vessel. Without boundaries, you are constantly pouring out but never filling up. You cannot fulfill your assignment if you are perpetually depleted. Setting boundaries requires courage because it often invites misunderstanding. People may label you as distant or uncooperative when you refuse to bend to their every demand. But you must remember that purpose is not a democracy. It cannot be voted on or dictated by the preferences of others. If you allow the world to shape your schedule, you will end up living a life that pleases everyone but fulfills no one, not even yourself. Focus is a spiritual posture. It is not just about keeping your eyes on a task or avoiding distractions. It is a declaration of where your allegiance lies. When you focus, you are saying with your actions that your purpose is worthy of your undivided attention. You are saying that your life is not cheap enough to be scattered across trivialities, but sacred enough to be anchored in direction. Focus is more than discipline, it is devotion. It is the act of treating your assignment as holy, of showing reverence to the time and opportunities entrusted to you. When you lose focus, it is not merely a lapse in productivity, it is a fracture in alignment. A distracted life is a divided life, and a divided life cannot carry power. Just as a lens must gather light into one sharp point to ignite fire, your life must gather its energy into one direction to ignite transformation. Scattered energy may keep you busy, but only focused energy changes the atmosphere around you. Focus is therefore not just practical, it is deeply spiritual. It is the posture of saying, I choose to be present where purpose calls me, not where distractions lure me. Focus is also an act of faith. It requires you to trust that the few things you give yourself to will produce more fruit than the many things you abandon. It asks you to believe that depth is greater than breadth, that doing less with intention is better than doing more with confusion. Faith is expressed in the confidence that you do not need to chase every opportunity, respond to every demand, or explore every path. Instead, you trust that by committing fully to what truly matters, you will unlock the abundance of results that scattered effort could never produce. To focus is to resist the temptation of fragmentation. The world will always offer distractions, notifications, noise, demands, endless choices. Each one whispers that you are missing out, that you must divide yourself thinner and thinner to keep up. But focus is the bold refusal to be mastered by these voices. It is the strength to say, my life is not a marketplace for distractions. It is a sanctuary for purpose. That refusal is not weakness, it is worship. It is the recognition that your attention is sacred, and wherever you place it, you give life. The posture of focus requires sacrifice. It means letting go of good things for the sake of the best things. It means detaching from applause, resisting the pull of comparison, and silencing the lure of shortcuts. But in return, it gives you power, power to finish what you start, power to move with clarity, power to transform ordinary time into extraordinary results. When you focus, you align not only your mind, but also your spirit. You bring the entirety of your being into agreement with your assignment. In that alignment, there is power, power to build, power to sustain, power to create impact that endures. Focus is more than attention. It is consecration. It is living with the conviction that your time is holy and your purpose is worth your whole self. Time is the most sacred gift we will ever hold, and how we spend it is the truest reflection of who we are becoming. The world will always offer distractions, urgencies, and demands, but the power to choose where your hours go rests in your hands. To guard your focus, to set boundaries, to detach from what drains you, and to honor what truly matters is not just productivity, it is purpose. Let your life be a statement that you did not waste your days chasing what was loud, but you invested them in what was lasting. For in the end, success is not found in how much you did, but in how faithfully you spent your time on what carried eternal weight.